We are live. All right, this is Senate Health and Welfare. We're back again after a fire alarm went off. Fortunately, all is good. And we're continuing on page 15. Katie, remind us what we just did, and then we can move on to hotels.
Okay. Here we've been on the council. We're on page 15, section 2207 of the bill. We had just made a decision about the permanent supportive housing to not include it as a level 4. And we were moving down to hotels and motels. We had a conversation about room caps. You added some language to the annual report about sort of census data and unmet need. And that is where we had left off. So actually, we're not really on page 15. We're moved past that.
Page 16 or
15.
Right.
So I think we made it through everything on page 16. Page 17 were the room caps. And then we have that subdivision 6, that language, if the household's needs cannot be met in levels 1 through 4, which will have to be updated to 1 through 3. Then utilizing hotels and motels. Okay, so that brings us to section 2209. So this
Is a page.
page 18. Okay. So this is other emergency housing services. And if you remember from our previous walkthroughs, this is broken into 3 paragraphs, and each paragraph has that reader assistance to start off, and it indicates that we're talking about sort of 3 distinct programmatic pieces. So the first is municipal supports, that the department through OEO is to provide grants to municipalities in areas of the state with a high volume of unsheltered homelessness, including municipalities underserved by traditional funding sources. The use of this aid is at the discretion of the municipality and includes providing access to basic life-sustaining shelter when the National Weather Service declares a cold weather advisory. Shelter provided pursuant to the subsection shall be time limited, shall not require coordinated entry assessment or case management, and shall have minimal data reporting requirements.
I don't understand what that means.
Limited data reporting requirements,
The whole thing, all of it.
all of it. Okay.
I could maybe just give a general explanation of what is in this one.
If the commissioner or someone could help me,
This cold weather shelters.
municipal supports.
So I could tell you that.
Let's start with Katie. And then we'll go to the commissioner.
Okay, so this is authorizing the department to provide grants to municipalities, including municipalities with underserved by traditional funding resources. So the money, I think, is fairly flexible. It says that the municipality can use this aid at its discretion, providing access to basic life-sustaining shelter when the National Weather Service declares a cold weather advisory. So I don't think it's limited to the National Weather Service declaring a cold weather advisory, but I think that's one of the things that it's intended to be used for, that a municipality could set up a shelter for those cold weather days.
So when people want to be in, it used to be the teen center in the basement of City Hall.
What's the grant gonna do? For what?
You have to, I believe, have somebody to supervise and be there, a established person.
You might rent cots, there might be things that you have to get, blankets to get so that they can.
Food?
I'm not sure.
I think sometimes they might have like a snack or something for folks to have when they come in.
No. it is. Okay, I just didn't know what that's.
So the municipality will have money to support the people in any way that they can in the shelter.
So just going down that line, where does the grant application define the requirements of the process? If we just have this that says that, how was that all administered?
How much? Up to limit.
This is the question for the commissioners.
Yeah, I think I wrote in my notes that we need to come up with the grant criteria. I think it's flexible enough to allow us the opportunity to, I think there's money allocated for it. And then we would have the opportunity. Lily works with people in the community, the director of OEO. So she knows when something might come on, and then she can work with them and create funding opportunities. So right now, it's not established necessarily.
Okay,
We would establish it.
okay.
Burlington spent $8 million last year on homelessness.
As a city,
As the city.
yeah, without having.
And I'll tell you, the churches use this supply. And occasionally they still will. It's like 10 degrees is when it's open.
Well, I feel bad for the church because it's all a municipality, you know.
Well, the municipal.
It goes through the municipal to the church.
Yeah, but what's happened is their clients, their parishioners are aging out. Where they feel they can be there's a certain danger to being there at night. And so they've done it spontaneously. A couple people in the church basement, but it's mostly gone to the city now.
Okay.
Can I, so do you want to share with us what you're thinking about how grants might be defined?
Yeah, but I
Well, we
also
could
want
put-
to, and
we
I
could put that in the bill, I guess.
also want to clarify that this is distinct from the emergency cold weather shelters. So this is something that they wouldn't be obligated to do, but if a municipality chose to house people in the library,
Right.
whatever they would need to make that happen, they could apply for a grant potentially. So we would explore, I would envision us exploring over the next 6 months how we could create this grant opportunity and then get it out there for folks to know.
Yep.
And then it would probably, my assumption would be cost based. So we would say, what is your cost? And that would be what they could apply for. And we would ask them to work with VIA or other opportunities or funding sources. So it was exclusive to us and it wouldn't be depleted right away on the first day.
I know VIA. Okay, so how can we, what can we put in either here? Probably here.
The department will explore grant opportunities to fund municipalities.
We don't want to make it overly burdensome administratively.
Right.
On either end, because we want to have to be available.
I wonder if you want to add a sentence, sort of outlining, that the department shall consider applications for municipalities. The application shall include cost basis of proposal, other funding sources. And then you might want to outline, is this like a first come, first serve thing or greatest need, or how is the decision being made?
Okay, well, let's see what we get out of that. That's a little flag there about the grants. I actually had that marked too, so thank you, Senator Morley, good point. Katie,
Oh, so you do want something?
yeah,
It wasn't clear. Okay.
yeah, something there, I think that helps. We're gonna get through to household responsibilities and then we're gonna stop and have Ken Harvey.
Next is the cold weather shelters. So emergency cold weather shelter shall be managed through an agreement between the office and one or more community partners to provide overnight low barrier shelter when weather conditions warrant. The office and the community partners shall ensure equitable access to emergency cold weather shelters for communities with a high number of households experiencing unsheltered homelessness. Shelter provided pursuant to this section shall be time limited, shall not require coordinated coordinated entry assessment or case management, and shall have minimum data reporting requirements. So this is different in that the money is not flowing through the municipality. So this is a contract being entered into with the state, with community partners to offer this service. And your definition of emergency cold weather shelters in the bill has the temperature threshold for that. Okay. Alternative AHS Housing Solutions, top of page 19. AHS, through its various departments, provides households with other time-limited or permanent housing. Such services include recovery housing, various residential supports for individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities, home care services for older Vermonters and individuals with physical disabilities, transitional housing for individuals exiting correctional custody, and residential options for individuals with mental health challenges. Emergency housing provided through the program is not intended in lieu of access to any other AHS, time-limited or permanent housing.
Have, okay. I guess that's.
2210, household responsibilities.
So I was thinking that this is a good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
to
Okay,
end.
perfect.
I know, because we're gonna get into conversations, I think, going forward. And that's a longer section of that time.
May I ask, what your expectation is? So I have changes I can make, but I'm guessing you might want to go through the whole bill before we have a new draft. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes,
I'll,
I mean, you can
Hold
go
on.
ahead and make changes, but we don't need to see them.
I'll
Yeah,
hang on to
we're
them.
not ready for that. So once
Okay,
we've been through the whole bill and we've had these conversations, then we'll go back through again and see what we've got.
okay.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's good. Thank you all. This is gonna be good. I know there's more discussions coming up in the next sections, so it takes me time to do that. I have this on the agenda next week for similar opportunities to go through the bill. So committee, read the bill again and flag your questions. And some of the questions you have will relate to topics that have been brought up through testimony, and some will be your own, so we'll go through and flag things important. And then I'm also asking, as I did right in the beginning, and I know this is more of the department's responsibility or the agency overall, and that's on the funding piece and what we need, where, and how to shift all that money around. So, good. We're good on this. So we're going to take a break right now and we're going to talk again. Harvey. She's on her way. All right, she's on her way. So we'll go offline.